Thank you very much. I suppose, Minister, I'm in the same vein. And I suppose my question to you, seeing is there is 678 roads still on our list. I believe we're the longest and the biggest list in the country. And we're only getting 15 roads a year. I appreciate we got extra funding last year. And all in all, we did 19 roads last year. But when we see the list is 678. It will take 45 years. I don't think any of us here in this room tonight, except maybe Joe, he looks young enough, and Claire, of course, will be here in 45 years' time. It will take 10 governments. More governments if they last 4.5 years, and they may not. So I'm asking you, Minister, we'll have to get more funding, and what's your view on that?
Okay, thank you, Deputy. Just to say, the focus of the Local Improvement Scheme, or LIS, is to support the continued improvement of rural roads and laneways that are not normally maintained by local authorities, but which represent a vital piece of infrastructure for rural residents. The scheme is also used to fund non-public roads leading to an important community amenities such as graveyards, beaches, piers, mountain access points or other tourism heritage sites. My department provides an allocation of funding each year to the local authorities for works on these roads. The selection of roads to be funded under the scheme is then a matter for each local authority based on the priority or condition of particular roads in their county. The local authority may rely on existing lists of eligible roads and/or advertise for new applicant roads. Demand for the scheme is strong, and it is normally oversubscribed. It is acknowledged how important the scheme is for people in rural areas and for farm families in particular. There is no other source of funding for these roads, which provide vital access to agricultural lands and rural homes. And I was pleased, as part of Budget 2022, to announce an increase in the base funding for LIS from 10.5 to 11 million this year. Last year, as you know, I was in a position to double the initial LIS allocation to 21 million following the identification of savings in other capital areas, and Kerry received over 1.1 million of this funding in 2021. This year I am continuing to closely monitor expenditure patterns. Should savings emerge, I will give consideration to again allocating additional funding to the scheme.
Very much, Minister, for your reply, but I'll take you up on one thing at the start. You said they are non-public roads. I say to you, Minister, they are public roads, but not taken in charge by the local authority. They are the very same status of roads that were taken in charge by the local authorities, but they stopped back in the early 80s doing that, and these roads were left behind. They are public roads, they are not private roads. And to qualify, you have to have at least 2 land holdings, and the council would not dream of doing private roads, where there's maybe 1 or 2 houses and no land holding. That's what we're talking about, is public rights of way and public roads. And I'm asking you, Minister, in that vein, this list was completed in our county in 2018, and added into that was applications that were made, 90 of them between 2007 and 2012. They were mixed in with the 2018 list. That was totally wrong. And people on these roads pay every kind of taxes: carbon tax, road tax, income tax, property tax, universal social charge. Indeed, people on these roads cost the state very little. Most have their own septic tanks, their own water. Farmers on public water pay savage water bills. And yet, their own houses have been built by themselves and maintained by themselves, along with being used by others to service. These have to be used by milk lorries, feed lorries, tractors, ambulances, doctors, home health, postmen, public health nurse, vets, department inspectors, school buses, and cars taking children to school. Minister, these are public roads, and to see where the government have gone wrong is the department say they're private roads, but I'm asking you to challenge them. They're not private roads, they're public roads.
Thanks, Deputy. Well, can I just say to you that I know exactly what you're talking about. I lived in a lane when I was reared on a farm, a mile long, and I can tell you I know all about potholes on a lane. We had to swerve the bike to get past them. Now, I also know about septic tanks, because I have a well and I have a septic tank. So I know about those things. So just to tell you. So just to say that the LIS scheme was always funded by the Department of Transport. In fairness, as I said, Michael Ring, my predecessor, he brought the LIS back, and I have continued it. We've doubled the funding last year for LIS. We've increased the funding available in the budget for 2022. And I know in my own county, it's the same as yours, Deputy. There's lots and lots of rural counties and lots of roads. But I have to cut my cloth to measure, of course. And, you know, I have to see where, you know, where I divide up the pot that we get. Just to say that I have raised this matter with Minister Ryan, who has responsibility for roads, and in view of the fact that the LIS was always funded by the Department of Transport, I have asked that the Minister would consider matching the funding provided by my department. So that means more money, more roads. The department, of course, the Department of Transport, it has a much bigger capital budget than the Department of Rural and Community Development. But I can't do the loaves and fishes because, you know, I have a pot and there's a lot of other things that has to get funding as well, Deputy.
Final supplementary. Final question.
All right. Minister, I thank you for your reply, and I will recognise Michael Ring's input, because in the first place, 'twas I asked him to bring back the scheme below on the Rural Affairs Committee several days, and I'm glad that he responded and did so. But in relation, I don't mind whether the money comes from the Department of Transport or from your ministry, but I am asking you seriously. 678 roads, and to do 19 or 20 in a year, that will take us a very long time, and it's not fair on the people of Kerry. And I say to you, the people on these roads are entitled to every bit of a good road as the people in Dublin 4, very much so. And we have to recognise the problem and deal with it. It is funding. I appreciate you doing your best. I agree with you. The Department of Transport should facilitate these people. You talked about cycling on your road. You can't cycle on any of these roads now, because you're in and out of potholes and the traffic is massive, and they are entitled to better, Minister. And I'm asking you as a minister from a rural county to respond and do more for us. We are very bad at the present time.
Thanks, Deputy. Minister, final reply.
Thanks, Deputy. And I can tell you one thing. I know about the milk tanks coming in these roads, and in fact there was a few concerns that they wouldn't come in anymore because the road was in such bad condition. But thanks be to goodness, I'm aware of one case where the road was fixed and the milk tanker is going in to collect the milk. And you'll appreciate that too, Deputy. The challenges that rural people face. The only thing I have to say to you is I have to cut my cloth to measure. And like, you know, if I give more money to the local improvement schemes, where do you want me to take it out of? I'll have to say the rural regeneration, Clara Town and Village Connected Hubs, outdoor recreation, the U Community Centre Fund, which I just announced last week. So, you know, it's a balancing act here. I have what the commitment I've said is, if there are savings emerging later in the year, I'll certainly look at increasing the funding to the LIS. But I'd like to see also some match funding coming from the Department of Transport. But of course there's the community incentive schemes as well. So, you know, that fund is in the Department of Transport. So maybe that should be considered too.
Look, all I'm saying, Minister,
thanks,
we're not recognising the amount of taxes that the people on these roads are paying. They're not getting.
Your point is made, Deputy. Your point is made.
Thank you very much.